God, as we reflect on that cross, we reflect on the way that you carried it for us, our hearts just overwhelmed with such incredible thankfulness. We're so thankful, Lord, for your love. We're so thankful for the kind of love that carries a cross up and hill for us. We're so thankful that you journeyed towards that place called Golgotha so that we may live. Thank you for your gift of life, God. Thank you for your gift of hope that it brings. Thank you for the gift of your presence. And I just pray, Lord Jesus, that you will flood the homes of everyone who's watching right now, that they may know that you are with them.
Remember During this Holy Week, we have been tracing the steps of Jesus to his crucifixion and resurrection, just by pausing at those places where significant moments occurred, where people, where events, where personal exchanges, where interactions rose to prominence. And every year we enter into this process of remembering the final week of Jesus' life before his death. Not just because we've forgotten the story, not just because we're amateur historians and we're wanting to try and piece together a significant event that happened nearly 2,000 years ago. We don't enter into this Holy Week and remember the events of Holy Week because that's what the tradition of the church is, and so we just continue this tradition for this year. Rather, we enter into observing Holy Week, to tracing the steps of Jesus in this final week before his death. Because in these realities, so much of our life is captured, so much of what it means to be human, so much of your life, of my life, are reflected or represented in the realities of our Holy Week. So much of who God is and what God does is revealed in this one week. And so we trace the steps of Jesus not as a people who are detached, not as people who are distant onlookers, but rather as active participators in this week, because we know that we ourselves are represented in the drama of this week, and we ourselves need God to reveal who he is and what he does, so that we will not be consumed by the drama that sometimes we, sometimes other people fall into and threatens to consume us. In short, we trace the steps of Jesus in Holy Week so that we may be saved. Saved in all those places that we need to be saved, saved for all that life that God has purposed us to be. And so that's our journey during this Holy Week. And for today, we pause at Bethany, and it is here that we pick up a figure by the name of Judas. And you can go and read a little of what happens with Judas in chapter 26 of the Gospel of Matthew. Now, I wonder if you would agree with me that as humans, we have a tendency when people do something wrong, we have a tendency to make them out to be greater villains than they really are. And in a way, this villainization is an original form of social distancing. We put as much distance as we possibly can between us and those who do wrong. And we do so in the attempts to say that we're different, that we're not like these people who have done wrong. But just maybe we are a little closer to those who do wrong than we think. I think this human tendency to vilify those who do wrong, this act of putting distance between those who do wrong and us, is exactly what happens when we think of Judas. I'm not sure about you, but somewhere in my history, I was taught that Judas was a lover of money, that he sold Jesus to death so that he could get rich. I was taught that Judas betrayed Jesus by handing Jesus over to his enemies for death. And the one result of viewing Judas in this way is that it allows me to say that Judas is quite unlike me, that Judas is bad. He put a price on somebody else's head. He was like a gangster. I've never done that. It allows me to say that I've never intentionally handed over another person into a place which threatens their life. I've never put somebody deliberately into life-threatening circumstances. And so while I hold on to this view of Judas, I take comfort that I'm not nearly as bad as him. But my teachings about Judas have progressed from those original thoughts. I found theologians like William Barclay, like Leslie Weatherhead, to be very helpful in offering a less villainous perspective on Judas. They've invited me to consider that in Judas's approach to the high priests, Judas did so without ever intending Jesus to die. In Jesus, Judas still saw a Messiah. He still saw somebody that could save the people of Israel. In Jesus, he still saw a divine leader that was worthy of being followed. He just needed a little bit of a nudge so that he could accelerate the action of God. In Jesus, there was this revolutionary who was waiting for a bold response from his followers to indicate their readiness to engage with the enemy, to expel the oppressive Romans, to begin the process of God's kingdom being established and for people to live free of Roman occupation. That view, it reflects Judas's betrayal simply as an intention to compel Jesus to act. Judas was a staunch nationalist. He was very, very patriotic. He believed with all his heart that the Romans would be and needed to be overthrown. And he believed that Jesus was the person who would do this. He believed that Jerusalem was the place where this could be done. He believed that the Passover would be the best time. And so now was the time to act. When this plan went so wrong, we see Judas being so overcome emotionally, psychologically, that he takes his own life. And so this view of Judas makes him less of a villain. This view portrays Judas as a betrayer in thinking that he knew better than God. Viewed like this distance between Judas's betrayal and me closes. Suddenly, the arrogant and the opinionated self-centeredness that caused Judas to refuse to accept Jesus as he is, it shows up in my living as well. It shows up my self-centeredness, my arrogance, my opinionated self-centeredness that also refuses to accept Jesus as he is. Suddenly I'm challenged. I'm challenged to deny self. I'm challenged to dislodge individualism from its place of primacy in my life so that I can enter into a truer following of Jesus. Suddenly I'm required to consider whether I, like Judas, whether I betray Jesus in my unwillingness to accept that it is not Jesus who can or who needs to be changed, but it is me who can and needs to be changed by Jesus. It is not Judas. It is not Jesus who needs to be nudged into action, but it's me who needs God's nudging to do that very, very significant work of confronting the social order that conditions my living so much. Suddenly I'm challenged to submit myself to the purposes of God. And so for me there is great benefit in letting go of any view of Judas which makes him a greater villain than he is. It doesn't mean that he's not a villain. It just means that he's less of a villain than some people make him out to be. It also means that I'm able to identify a little with what was going on in Judas's life, and I'm challenged to be a truer follower of Christ because of that. And so God bless you in this Holy Week as we await to receive the wonderful gift of salvation and resurrected life on Good Friday and Easter Sunday. God bless.